You're listening to Cash and Sass. I'm Lisa Marie, your go-to gal for all things money. As the Sassy Wealth Queen and the brains behind the Sassy Wealth Coach, I'm here to take you on a thrilling ride from the financial chaos to sassy and sexy money. Hey, my sassy friend, welcome back to another episode of Cash and Sass. My name is Lisa Marie, and I'm the brains behind the Sassy Wealth Coach and, of course, this podcast. And today with me, I have Joseph Drolshagen. Did I say that right? Yay!
Oh, that was perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
His bios, he's dedicated his life to stepping through his fears and helping people experience dynamic growth in their life through getting into alignment with the superpowers and doing so in a manner that opposes the standard coaching consulting methodologies being utilized today. It's taken him almost 3 decades and a lot of life lessons in his own journey to perfect what's become known as the SMT method, subconscious mindset training. This has allowed him and almost thousands of clients he's served quickly get to the other side of their fears, which you and I both know leads everyone to the greatest thrills life has to offer. Recently, it led him to a 2,000-foot mountaintop strapped to a hang glider. Okay, you've lost me. We're no longer connected. It's led him to resign from a 28-year career as VP of Sales in corporate America to serving others in the works he does today. As an international coach, author, speaker, and minister, he loves helping people use their struggle, fears, and limitations to launch them into success. And I'm going to say he is the first person on my show that is in the same state as me. Woohoo! South Carolina. I'm so thrilled. And we were connecting before we started recording, and then he lost me with hang gliding because I'm not strapping anything to me up on top of anything and hang gliding from nothing. That's like jumping out of an airplane, and people are like, you don't want to jump out of an airplane? No. Why would I jump out of a perfectly good airplane? No.
We're connected again. I wouldn't want to do that either.
But you go hang gliding? Yeah, okay. Yes. Okay, just still. And it's so awesome to have you on my show. Thank you very much for being here. I absolutely love a lot of your answers. And one of the things that I want to talk about is how you said you were born into blue collar, so therefore you were always going to stay in a blue collar. Because I grew up with a single mom who took care of 2 kids. And I was always told, honey, if you didn't come from money and you don't marry into money, you're never going to have any money. So it's basically that blue collar. You're going to work, you're going to pay bills, you're going to work, you're going to pay bills, and you're never basically going to have anything to show for it, right? Except burnout, stress, migraines, and that. And for years, that's exactly what I had because I was in corporate for 20 years. Talk about that and how that affected your mindset. And then some, what did you do to shift it?
Yeah, Lisa Marie, it's great to be here with you too. I mean, even our pre-conversation was awesome.
It was.
Yeah, I know. I grew up in a very low income blue collar family in Detroit, Michigan, the auto mecca of the world and everything else. And I had multiple teachers. I watched my parents struggle and work exhaustively and everything my whole life to raise us 5 kids and put a roof over our head, and man, I remember thinking something's not right here. I had gone to a friend of mine's house for a weekend, and his dad pulled out $20 and he said, "Here, you guys take your bikes, go up to Dairy Queen."
Right.
And my family, we had to save up to do that. So even at 9 years old, I was like, something's not right here. Like the energy of the house after I went there and spent a weekend and stuff like that. And I came back going, man, I'm not living like you people are. And I didn't know what they did wrong, but I knew they weren't doing something right, And then I got into my 20s and I experienced that same struggle and I couldn't understand why. And to the point, if something came easy for me, I thought I didn't deserve it because I didn't work hard enough for it.
Yes.
And so many things that would come up, I would just knock down as far as not deserving of that. And at 21 years old, or 22 years old, I became a student of the works I do today. It was only because I was lost and couldn't figure it out. Mm-hmm. So I've gone through one-on-one counseling. I've gone through group counseling. I've gone through all kinds of different programs and coaches and self-studies and books. I've taken book after book after book and created an experiment out of it. And no matter what I did, I would walk away feeling more and more like there was something wrong with me. Like like you said, that was my lot in life, and going through grade school, even multiple of my teachers would say to me, there's people meant to work with their head and people meant to work with their hands, and you're going to work with your hands. So I wanted to quit high school my junior year and just get a job because that was my lot in life, you know? And so I started out after high school. I didn't go to college right away, and I ended up getting into blue collar and cleaning grease out of machines and maintenance. And it was this terrible job. And I came across a guy who we became friends, and he was very high level in the pharmaceutical world. And I didn't ask him to, but he decided that he was going to mentor me. And he started opening up these possibilities and things like that. And at one point, he said to me, you know, he goes, what would you love about getting in the white collar? Because that was like a breakthrough bridge for me. Nobody in my family had gone into white collar. So what would that? I go, oh man, I'd love to have a company car and a laptop computer. Like that would be so awesome. And so I started understanding, or he started explaining some of the things, and he would have me practice interviews, but I started opening some of that stuff up. Now, at the same time, you know, I got 5-6 years now where I've been working at the cores of what I do today and stuff. And it started opening things up, and I got a job in white collar. I was the first one in my family to do so. That corporation paid for my college degree. So I got a college degree, the first one to do so. And if you look at how I was, and even within corporate that I didn't ever want to be in, but I was raised with the thought that a man gets a job and supports a family and hopefully lives long enough to enjoy some retirement. And I bought into that hook, line, and sinker.
I did too.
So,
I did too.
oh yeah. Okay. So once I got into white collar, it just kept coming like new opportunities, everything else, all the way up to a vice president of sales. And then at the end of my corporate career, I was helping companies in bankruptcy get back into profitability. And it's all been a continuous learning and life's lessons. When you read that, I always smile when I hear that, because so many life lessons, so many crashes that I've experienced in order that brought me to that next level and things like that. Mm-hmm. You know, and so and once I understood the subconscious mind, once I understood the programming and how that interacts with the brain waves to the actions we take or don't take, I could start seeing where I know what I want, but I'm not getting there no matter what I did. And I'd take coaching programs, 6-month coaching programs and things like that. And I'd walk away thinking there must be something wrong with me. And I just continued that up until about maybe 20 years ago when things started to click. Once I understood the subconscious mind and things like that, all of a sudden things started to click, and I understood it's not that I was raised in blue collar, so that's as far as I'll ever go. It's not that I was raised in financial struggle, so that's as far as I can go. I can understand that, identify it, and what the whole SMT method is based on is identifying and shifting that subconscious conditioning to open up for a wider perspective and more opportunities in our life.
Okay, so I want to talk about that shifting because that subconscious, it's basically what you came up with is what I teach. I just don't say it the way you say it. I say that, you know, the stories that we've been telling ourselves, the stories that we've heard, they're stories from generations upon generations upon generations. With women, it's society. Society, I mean, even today, hello, we should be so much further away, but it's still from you, right? Everything around us, all these stories that are told to us. I didn't come from money. I'm always going to have to do this. You were born into blue collar. So therefore that's the only thing you should expect. And You're right. Subconsciously, we start believing those things because that's what we've seen, what we've told. And we're like, okay, well, how can we expect it to be any different? And what it is it's shifting that. So I want to talk about that. How do you go about shifting that? Because I tell people all the time, you need to be honest with yourself if you're not honest with anyone else on identifying what those limiting beliefs are. You have to be able to identify them and acknowledge them, right? And then how did you go about shifting, and how do you help other people do that shift? Because I know sometimes it can take people a lot longer. I mean, it took me longer. But of course I did it by myself and and like you, like, okay, why is this not working? What am I missing? There's something missing. I'm awesome with numbers. Like I can get in someone's bank account. I can tell you where there's money leaks. I can look at it. You can say, Lisa, I've got $10,000. I've got all of this and all of this, and I want to know the best way. And I can literally give you 6 different ways you could do it all. And you can choose which one would best fit you. And
Yes.
I was still having a hard time retaining wealth, right? And seeing that I could create wealth. And what that was my limiting belief. That was coming from that limiting belief. And so once I realized that my money mindset and wealth management were connected, and that was what's stopping me from this. And I acknowledged what those beliefs were and realized where they were coming from. I was then able to start digging and doing the work to make it shift. And I tell everybody this all the time, every single day on all my podcasts. It doesn't happen overnight. And it's a continuous work in progress because every time you up level, you're going to have sometimes that little brain's going to come back, but having the tools like your process and having other tools, like I use music embodiment to work through those emotions so they don't stay in there and shift my mindset back. Sure. Being able to have those tools is what helps you. So I would like to know how does your process work? Oh, excuse me. And how did you use it to shift those paradigms, right? Those money paradigms, those money beliefs.
Yeah. So ultimately, you said something in that, and again, the subconscious is like what I call a motherboard of all of our programming. It's our patterns, our paradigms, our experiences, our beliefs, our habits, all of that's in there. We can have programming in our subconscious that we never experienced, but somebody told us it, or we were told it over and over. Like meant to work with your head or hands, and things like that and stuff. And we just believe that without ever experiencing it. So part of the problem is going it alone, which, is we can't become aware of those things because we live so much and doing things that are habits and everything else. It's the right thing to do. It just feels like the right thing to do. And we do it over and over and over and create more and more and more struggle. So something has to trigger that to become aware of it. And what I have found and the way it changed for me is I started out developing what I call a dynamic vision. And in my SMT method with the programs, there's a roadmap that we go through to determine that vision. Even in building that vision starts tapping up against that conditioning. It starts tapping up against those beliefs, and it did for me. I mean, I would spend 3,000 to 5,000 miles every single week. We're back in sales trying to develop territories. Once I started, and I might do $1 million a year in sales to a $150 million organization. Once I started understanding this, and once I was able to start applying it and start becoming aware of what those were, and then, excuse me, working in the various forms that are in the SMT method to shift that, all of a sudden, within a year, I landed one contract that was $25 million a year. And it took them from 150 to 175 and it was easy. And it just unfolded. It didn't have all the effort and the painstaking, grueling effort and everything else going into it. And so even with my clients, every client I work with, when they go through and build that dynamic vision, I help them to expand that. And I'll give you an example. I had somebody who came to me and they had a 13-year high, a $7.5 million business. All they wanted to do was get to $10 million. And that's as far as they could see. So I went in working together. We stretched it to like 12.5 million. And even in that bumped up against multiple paradigms, multiple things like, am I really worthy of this? Multiple, like, am I deserving? Like all the different paradigms that are in that programming that we wouldn't otherwise even be aware of them playing out, we can now become aware of and we can shift those. And in 12 calendar months, their business went from 7.5 million and almost toppled over $23 million. And they've been maintaining that for 5-6 years now and kind of slowly pacing from there and stuff. And that story happens over and over and over. But the whole thing, we hear all this stuff a lot, and a lot of people think it's wishful thinking, but if you can believe it, you can achieve it.
Oh, absolutely. I believe what we focus on, we create more of.
But we have to do so in a way, like a lot of people take things like The Secret or manifesting or, you know, the universal principles, all that stuff. And it's all taught as a one size fit all.
No, it's not.
But Lisa Marie, you're a unique individual like I am. So one of the things is I've gone through multiple coaching programs in my time of you know, learning this and in doing so, I would finish a program and I would think, man, there must be something wrong with me. I must be stuck because I wouldn't get anything out of it. Now I realize, and it's why I created the SMT method programs the way I did, is it doesn't give you the A, B, and C to hit D, the one size fit all pattern. It creates the journey for the unique experience for that individual to identify your conditioning, not a whole. And then we shift that. And then what you walk away, what my clients walk away with is they walk away with their success roadmap, and then they can apply it to any other area of their life.
I love this. So there's two reasons I love this. One, all my listeners who are not in the millions, I want you to understand, did you hear someone was making $7 million and they couldn't see past a certain amount? Guess what? Mindset. The same thing, the struggles that you're struggling with at 500,000 or 20,000 or 50,000, whatever that number, the limiting belief of only being able to see so far. Again, new levels. And I heard this in a momentum, so I keep saying it. New level, new devil. For every new level, so you keep saying, oh, well, if I'm making $1 million, then I would never worry about money. But if you're having the belief now, you're going to still have that belief unless you're doing something about that belief. More money's not actually going to fix the belief. And the other thing is how you talk about the personalized roadmap. I created what's called a personalized money roadmap. And the reason why I call it a roadmap is because we need to understand, we need to be able to tweak it. Most people, when they hear budget, they think restrictive, and the cookie cutter ones just don't work. And the personalized money roadmap takes in your values, your desires, your core values, your desires, your monthly expenses, your yearly expenses, talking about all the business stuff, the growth you're wanting. It's talking about what you're talking about. We look at the whole picture of that person, and then we personalize it. And that's the reason why it works, is because it's for that person. And in that process, when we're building it, we're looking at the creating, retaining, expanding wealth that's personalized for them and what's important to them. And you're doing the same thing when you're looking at you called it the SMT, right? The SMT method does the exact basic, does the same thing, because you're looking at, when you create that roadmap, you're doing it personalized for them and then helping them see beyond a certain thing. You're helping them see what's possible.
Well, one of the things with that, and you had mentioned it as well, is one of the common traits I see with people who have businesses, they'll stay in the hundreds of thousands. $1 million seems to be a block.
Okay, well, look, I'm going to be honest. When I started my own business, and clear as day, point blank, I said, if I'm barely going to get by, then I'm going to do it on my terms. I'm not going to do it to make someone else rich. And that was the whole reason. I was going to be home with my girls. Yep. One of them special needs. I was done with working 60 hours a week to make someone else rich and me barely get by. And then my coach earlier this year says, Lisa, what's your new goal? And I was like, I don't know. And I gave him a number and he said, really? And I said, okay, I never thought I would say this. And I gave him my gross goal of $500K. And he said, and how did that feel? I said, scary as shit. Because like you're saying, when I first started, I never even thought to look over at that number or go to $1 million. For me to say $500,000 or even think of $1 million. And I've started thinking above 500 and getting to that $1 million. And I'm like, okay. And it's because when I started, I had the one purpose, right? And then when I started making the money, I was like, who am I to think I'm going to be able to do 500? Again, who am I? How can I do this? This is what, and it comes back to what he said. Why not? If they can do it, why can't you?
Yeah, the thing I was pointing towards with that is one of the other commonalities I see with people's conditioning is to go above $1 million means I have to work more. I have to do more. I have to keep track of it all. I got to make sure it's all happening the right way and everything else. And that isn't true.
Mm-mm.
Because taking a company, I had another company that I worked with, a wholesale company who was making $300,000 a year in 5 years. That's about the top they got to. And they were using a line of credit to cover their costs versus what their revenue was. And all he wanted to do was get to $500,000 because then he could nickel and dime down that. So I worked with him when we had his vision finally, got him excited about $750,000. And in a year, he went from $300,000 to $3 million. And life became easier. So often we're taught, if you want something, you got to take massive actions and exhaustive efforts, and you got to be willing to trade off your life. And that's what I was not willing to do. And so I've built my business and multiple businesses now based on it getting easier the bigger I grow, because I build a team around that to handle those things and stuff like, and all that. So really, and it's the conditioning, but unless something triggers us to see it, we'll never be aware of it. And I tried doing this on my own for a long time, and I wasn't even aware of it. Prior to COVID, I've been doing this for 10, 11 years now. And man, my coaching consulting business just ramped. And it's because of utilizing tools I teach. And then COVID hit, and I had like 14 or 16 live events canceled within a day and a half. And they came back down. And so what I did is I went right back into my strategies and me figuring out the how and everything else and stuff. And I was getting nowhere. And then I got another coach, because I was without one for a little while there, and started working with them. And we right away started pointing out those paradigms, those habits, one of the things I'll tell people, Lisa Marie, is you don't have to figure it all out. But if you find a process to take you through it, but you do have to be willing to be a little bit uncomfortable in the process, because we got to stop doing the things that feel like the right things that are leading us nowhere in order, one of the ways I explain that, my mentor, Bob Proctor, taught me this is, we want to take common actions, which comes from that programming, but yet we want uncommon results. So shifting that to taking uncommon actions, which is the only way to lead to uncommon results, we have to be a little bit uncomfortable in the process of doing that.
Yeah, they tell you the up leveling is in the uncomfortable. And if you're staying in that comfortable, then you're not going to up level. You're not going to make the shifts. And again, I tell people all the time, the last 6 months of my business proves that again. I had to dig deep into my tools. I even had to go to my coaches and say, okay, I don't think these tools are going to get me wherever I'm at. What new tools, what is there? Help.
Yeah.
And I do mindset, right? I do mindset, and I'm recognizing that the tools I have that got me to where I'm at weren't going to get me further. And that's when I was shown and told about the music, and I love moving to music, and so she introduced that to environment with me, and for me that works. I'm still in the beginning stages of it, and I still feel kind of weird doing it. And she said, if I don't feel weird, then I'm not doing it right. So I guess I'm doing it right. And each person's going to have different tools that are going to work for them. The key is knowing, like being able, like you said, reaching into those tools. And then you're like, okay, I'm doing all these tools. This isn't working. What? Somebody else, because when we're in that pickle jar, when we're in that space, we're not going to always be able to see the things. And the coach was able to have you see, oh, wow, I'm doing these habits again. I've got these paradigms again. Okay, what new tool can help me shift this? And sometimes it's going back to the basics. The reason why it wasn't working is because you didn't actually see what habits you'd gotten back into, right? And that's just going back to the basics of your tools.
Yeah, even with that, my clients who come to me, I talked about the vision is where I start every individual organization I work with in building that dynamic vision. But then once they start achieving that, there's another level of those paradigms.
Every new level, new devil.
And so as we do that, we bump against those paradigms at a deeper level.
That's what happened to me.
And so it's a continuation of going forward. But I'll tell you, once I understood that I'm not looking for a program that to make me a mini me of anybody, and that's why I created the SMT method, because that's what I had experienced a lot, that mini me thing. So I developed this to whatever your vision, whatever your desires are for your life is what we're going to bring
See, and I
about.
love that
Not
because
my desires for your
right.
life.
And I love that because I tell people all the time, you can have a business or corporate, make all the money in the world and still not be wealthy, because in my opinion, wealthy is more than money. And the reason why you're not wealthy is because you're not doing it aligned with your core values and your desires. You're doing it for someone else, or you're doing it because you're checking a box. And it's really important that it be aligned with your core values and your desires, and it's built for that. That's what's going to bring the wealthy on. I mean, that's the reason why I created the 5 wealth codes. It's because being wealthy is just so much more than just having money, because there's plenty of people who have money, rich, but they're not wealthy, and it's because they're not living their best life. They're checking a box. They're not actually enjoying life. And to me, that's what being wealthy is all about. Yes, I want money, but I don't want just the money. To me, that's not what's wealthy. So, my 5 spiritual codes I created was spiritual, mental, physical, energetic, and financial. And they all are surrounded by the core values and desires of that person. Not of you and me, not what I want for you, or not what I think you want, what you actually want. And I think that's really important.
Well, that's the other side of what the SMT program and what I stand for, my cores and everything else. What I really want to experience in this life is I want to have wealth, but I want to have freedom of time to enjoy it. So the other side of things is, as we accelerate that growth within the business, that client that went from 7.5 to $23 million, in that same year, those same 12 months, it was the only year of their adult life that they took 5 weeks of vacation in that same year. So it's about it's not just the money, because hey, if you have $1 trillion and nobody close to enjoy it with, if you don't have any time to go and do things you want to do and everything else, what's the value of that money? So it's really got to be to open up that life that you desire to live. And all of that's captured in what I call that dynamic vision.
And that's the reason why I don't take on new clients during the months of June and July. That's the reason why there's only 2 podcast recording days in the month of June and July, because I'm outside on the lake with my girls, water parks or whatever, working minimal. I have client calls instead of 3 days a week. It's 2 days a week. And then the rest of the week, I work half a day on a Wednesday, and then the rest of the week is blocked so that we can go and do whatever we want to do during the summer. And then one whole week is taken off during the summer. And then later on in the year, several other weeks are taken off, which when I worked corporate, I got vacation and I still was never able to take it, because you had to ask for it. Right. And then they would determine, I can't be without you for a solid week, or, what you had to go through to get someone to back you up while you were gone. It was almost worth not going.
Or bother you on the phone, or we get in that mode where we can't go a day without checking our emails and stuff like that, even on vacation and stuff like that. So opening those avenues.
I've gotten much better around my boundaries on my emails. I even now have it to where it automatically replies saying I only answer them twice a day. And if you're a one-on-one client, then you know how to, you can reach me via text. Otherwise, I'll answer within 24, 48 hours, but I only answer twice a day. And I've literally started living by that. And it took me, I'll have my business now 7.5 years, and it's taken me 5 of those to finally do that. Because at first it was thinking that I needed to be constantly responding. And I was like, you know what? No, this has got to stop. And it's realizing that we can actually set those boundaries and that we can make those shifts, right? So how do you work with your clients, or how do you how did you, using it, how have you been able to, keep doing that the money mindset shift, and being able to stay away from the abundant, like the scarcity mindset, and being in that abundance mindset?
It's just a continual stepping into it and stepping into it and stepping into it, to the point, like the fact of where I come from in Detroit, Michigan, raised the way I was raised, to make it to a vice president of sales with hundreds of thousands of dollar, salary and the bonuses and all the other stuff to go with it, or to what I'm doing today, it's unrealistic that I'm here. Based on conditioning and everything else, it's unrealistic. So I just keep stepping into it. And one of the things I'm really excited about, and there's another point I want to make, but the one thing I'm really excited about is I'm getting ready to launch an institute to certify other coaches in the SMT programs.
That's awesome.
So now I get to expand the impact that my life works has now, and even after I pass away, it'll keep going and stuff. And one of the things when we talk about that with, I love what I do. This is my core right here. I love talking about it. I love workshops. I love coaching. I love seeing people get that breakthrough when they get that aha moment.
Right.
And I love getting to be part of it. So I only work with so many clients at a time. And the reason I do that is because I worked in so many programs where my coaching session might be on a Tuesday, and Wednesday or Thursday, I got a question and I can try to email them hoping they answer, but I don't get to discuss it with them until the next week. So my clients have access to me. So they have a coach along with them through the process, not just once a week at these stamped times and stuff. And that's every client I've worked with at some point has needed to rely on that, or we'll be on a coaching call and they're up against something tough. And it's like, I'll set something up with them. Call me in 2 days. Let's talk about this more. So I get to work with people and really get embedded to ensure they get the absolute most out of the time we spend together. And that's going to be part of the thing with the institute that we're doing and things like that and stuff. So yeah, you know what it is a friend of mine told me a long, long time ago, he was a mentor of mine. And he said, Joe, life is going to be like a train, going uphill. And as long as you keep moving, as long as you keep growing, even if it's inch by inch, you'll keep going. But the moment you stop, you got to go backwards before you can go forwards again. And I just look at that. And not that I don't spend every minute of my waking day doing that. I told you I hang glide, motorcycle, trout fish, pickleball, like all kinds, workout, all kinds of stuff I love doing and stuff. So, but I continue to expand that. Like the Institute, man, that was a vision a dream I've had since I started figuring this stuff out, before I even knew SMT was the name of the program, that I would never even share with anybody because I thought it was way too big of a dream for me to have. And now that seeing it come to fruition, and I'll tell you, as a coach, you probably experience the same thing. Each time a client of mine has a breakthrough, they get to that aha moment and I identify what it is, and we make that shift, and you get to see them bring something else, their vision into their life. That's a high for me. When I was in corporate America, I used to abuse alcohol and gambling and things like that just to keep in that mode of being in corporate America. I didn't, it wasn't where I wanted to ever do with my life, but I did it because of my conditioning.
Yeah, I mean, you and I are aligned in another way, by the way. We're talking about how we're aligned or unaligned. I do the same thing with my one-on-one clients. It's Crew 101, which is create, retain, expand wealth. And my one-on-one clients, I only take on so many at a time, and they get access to me, unlimited access to my cell phone via text. And they also get what we call it's an oh shit call a month. That's on top of them talking to me twice a month. So they get a call with me twice a month. So that means that they've got access to me at any given time as we are working through, because what I do is I combine the fractional CFO and wealth coach in one, right? So I'm working with their mindset, I'm working on them building their wealth, and I'm helping them with any shifts that may happen through life, COVID. I have one client that's a therapist, and some people may not know about it, but the clearinghouse got hacked. It was taken hostage, and which meant boonkoos and boonkoos of medical doctors were all of a sudden not getting paid. Therapist office weren't getting paid. Hospitals weren't getting paid. There was just all of a sudden, because they'd taken it hostage and they were holding it for ransom. Basically, they wanted to be paid a ransom in order for them to release it, right? And so all of a sudden, these providers are still providing the service, but all their claims aren't being paid.
Yeah.
And you have all these people struggling. And she texted me. She said, "Hey, can we have an extra 30-minute call? I've got an issue." And she told me what it was. I said, "Yep." I said, "I got a 30-minute spot tomorrow." We got on a call. We went through it and I said, okay, look, you're going to be okay. You've got this that we can use. We've got this that we can use. If we need to, we'll pull from your line of credit to help make sure you can still pay your people. We also still we have enough money to make sure your taxes and all that's taken care of, because it was right around the same time in March. I said, so you're golden there. I said, and then we'll work on the cash flow. And we were meeting once a week during this time just for her peace of mind as we navigated this, because they started being paid, but they were being paid slowly. And then this month, all the money that was backed up came in because they finally got, I don't know, whatever it was they did. And so the claims finally, it all got solved. And so, but the thing is that just shows you never know what's going to happen, right? Life is going to happen, right? And you need to be able to navigate that. And one of the things, especially with women, when you're trusting someone to help you with your money, they want to know that they can have access to you, especially when they're shifting those mindset beliefs, right? And then some oh shit moment happens, and if they got to wait a month to talk to you, they're going to literally, by the time they come to talk to you, you now have to go back and do 4 months worth of work because they didn't have that access. And see, so when you were saying that they have access to you through the entire process, my clients are the same way. My one-on-one clients have access to me through the entire, and that's because I know how it felt to not be able to have that access. And that's one of the reasons why I love my coach, is because he has a group of coaches that are part of the mastermind. And my accountability coach and the other coach, I know that I've got someone I can reach out to, and at any given moment, I'm going to get the support I need. And, and I just think that that's really, really important, knowing that you're fully supported, especially in one-on-ones. A lot of times we have one-on-ones and it's once a month, like you're talking about, and then they're feeling lost, and then you're doing back work. And when you're doing the type of work that you do or I do, when we're looking at those mind shifts and we're taking them and shifting it from this belief to this belief, and even shifting how you manage your money and how you look at your money and the relationship with your money, to be able to see, oh, you know what, I can get to 700,000, or I can get to 500,000, because, and then when you're 5, you know what? Wow. $1 million, I can do that. Seeing it is just like you say, when they all of a sudden have this aha moment, it's especially when they realize the shifts they're making are now more aligned with their desires and their core values. Because my shift, my business has been happening. We've been calling it the Phoenix Rising moment, the rebirthing. It's been the biggest shift in my business in the entire 7.5 years I've had it. And it's been huge, and it's been scary. And that's why I've had to dig into those tools and go and reach out. And my accountability coach has been with me, like literally every step of the way, via voice text, whatever, multiple extra calls, the whole 9 yards, to help me work through those and make sure that I have the tools I need to be able to shift it and be able to see what's possible. Because sometimes our brains like to try and protect us, and they don't realize we're not needing protection. That it's a shift, but then they're telling you, well, why are you making this shift? Why aren't you happy with what you got? You shouldn't do this. This is too dangerous. This could, you're going to lose everything. Whatever it is they're telling you, right? Who do you think you are to go set up an institute for SMT?
Yeah, that's a big one.
And it tells me, mine used to tell me, who the hell do you think you are to teach women that they can create wealth? And I literally told myself that. And then all of a sudden I went, wait a minute. I want them to understand they can create, retain, and expand wealth, whether they came from it or not. And who else better to do it than me, who didn't come from wealth to begin with, and who was on food stamps when she started her damn business and took it to 6 figures in 3 years. Okay, who else better? And when you switch it that way, you start seeing what's possible. And by the way, I still tell myself this often, okay, during this big shift that's happening in my business. Because again, it's the largest shift that's ever happened. It's the largest shift to take me to the largest up leveling that has ever happened. And that is your SMT Institute, I'm sure, is probably the largest one or one of the largest one for you. And it's scary, right?
Well, going into the institute, I've never done it before. So when we go into new things, there's a fear. And one of the things I tell everybody, you want to take your business above $300,000 a year, there's going to be fear. You got to learn how to manage that fear and what it is and when to pay attention to it and when it's a warning sign and when it's just make believe stuff that's coming up,
Mine isn't a warning sign. Mine's the make believe stuff.
Yeah, the fall. Yeah, and we all face it. I mean, that's the reason why I ran off of that 2,000-foot mountaintop the first time with the hang glider, because I thought I was afraid of heights. And what I realized in that process is I'm not afraid of heights. I'm afraid of falling. And through that process and stuff. But it's such a great example because we all have fears. If we're doing anything outside of our comfort zone, we have fears. We'll never get anywhere from within our comfort zone for as far as expansion or growth. But getting outside of that, to start understanding and to start living with fear is going to be a part as soon as I step outside of that comfort zone. But we can kick it the heck out of the driver's seat of our life. We can, fear seems like it's so far side to side and so tall we can't get over it. But a lot of times it's just paper thin. The moment when I was standing up there on my first run off that ledge, I had the hang glider, I got the clear, and everything inside of me is going, don't do it. Don't go, don't go, don't go. And I could feel my heart beating. And then as I took the first, because you only get 3 steps and you're off. And so I take the first step and all of a sudden I could feel my heart beating in my throat and my insides are going, no, no, no. And the moment my feet left the ground, I was soaring like an eagle. And it was just, man, this is incredible. And that's what happens on the other side of our fear. And our fear will always be greatest right before that jumping off point when we get to that, when we get to that level of whatever it is we want to get to.
I think the closest I'll ever come to it is the parasailing I did.
Yeah. When you're hooked to a boat?
Yes. And my feet were on the ground and I was fine. And then my feet weren't on the ground. And then, like you said, once you got to that point, it was like, holy shit. You're seeing everything in just a new way. And then, of course, the scary part was then when they're bringing you down and you're landing because you have to do it a certain way so you don't. So I think that's the closest I will ever come, and I did that in Mexico in 2019.
But it's such a great analogy of facing our fears and how thin they can be. Because when you got done with that, as much fear as you had down landing and everything, wasn't it?
It was amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I love this. This conversation I could have for like hours and hours on the end, and we can't do the podcast that long. I want you to tell the listeners your free offer because I think it is something that they need to jump at because I never used to believe in meditations and stuff like that. And I was always the one that would go, look, if I close my eyes and go to meditate, I'm going to sleep. And I don't sit still long enough. And then someone showed me that there's different ways of meditating. Not the way that you see. I can't do that. Okay. That's just not happening. So tell our listeners what your free offer is.
Absolutely. Yes. And I got a little bonus one too. So like I said, I love what I do, Lisa Marie. Like I love getting involved. I love being involved in other people's lives and truly living from what I've learned to be a servant's heart.
I love that.
I get more fulfillment than I've ever had in life in doing so. And so one of the things I offer anybody who's listening to this, who has a question or trigger something or anything else is reach out to coachwithjoey.com and schedule a 15-minute call with me. We'll get on there. We'll talk about what's going on. We'll relate to some things, whatever it is. And if I can help you at all on that call, then I'll help you. And that's all that the call is about, is just serving. And if you remind me when we're on that call, anybody that sets it up I'll send you a package of 4 meditations to help start stirring that mindset, to help start opening up to seeing a greater potential for your life than where you are right now. And again, that's coachwithjoey.com. And that's my personal calendar.
And we're going to make sure that I have that on the show notes. We'll have it in the show notes and the notes. And y'all, he's given a 4-pack meditation. If all you got to do is mention it on the call with him that you want the 4-pack meditations. I say take it because I've started listening to insight timer. And I have a meditation that I listen to as I go to sleep, and it's a 2-hour one. And it's about abundance, and it's been this one of the new ways that I'm using the mindset with the shift, with the business shift, because I'm at that new level. So and I'm outside of my comfort zone. And because I'm outside my comfort zone, those things are coming up, right? And you even said it, as we get outside our comfort zone each time and we go to do that new level, you're going to have those things come up and unfortunately it's going to be every single time. It's the reason why I say you're always going to work on your mindset. It's just like your fitness, health. You're always going to work on it.
Everything starts with mindset. If we're going into something thinking we can't do it,
you're always going to work on it.
We're not going to be able to do it.
Thank you.
And those meditations, I call them meditation, but people will listen to them while they're, you don't have to sit with your eyes closed.
Oh, no,
like
people will listen to it when they're driving,
walking, running, exercising, things like that and stuff while they're cooking dinner and stuff. And they're really, it's 4 videos.
I would love to have
it's set to start opening up that.
Yeah, I would love to have them. I'm going to get them, y'all, because I'm going to tell you, I've been listening to an active meditation when I do dishes. There's one that I listen to when I do dishes, and I'm paraphrasing it, but part of it's just talking about how I'm a badass bitch. But it's uplifting, and it's telling me how I'm abundant, and it brings in those beliefs. And you listen to it over and over again, kind of like you listen to all those stories over and over again. Guess what's going to happen? You start shifting to that belief, and then you start seeing, you know what, this uncomfortableness, this is possible. Okay. Yeah. And then you're going to get there to where you want to be. And then guess what? You're going to get to another level of uncomfortable in order to keep growing. And so it's just really, really important. If you take anything away from that, I just want you to know that we can retrain our brains. It's like I said, it's a motherboard. We can retrain them. We can retrain the way we think about anything, including wealth and money. And I just think that's really important. Thank you so much, Joey, for being on my show. I feel like I already know you. You're kinship. You're from South Carolina. Thank you so much.
There's a connection.
It is. And so much so, I already know I want you back on the show. So
awesome.
Thank you very, very much. And my friend, remember, until next time, stay sassy. Bye.
God bless.
Thanks for joining us this week on Cash and Sass. Check us out on social media and on our website at www.thesassywealthcoach.com, where you can download my free Money Story Start Guide. The website again is www.thesassywealthcoach.com. And as always, subscribe to the show to catch every new episode and leave us a review so we can continue to bring you fresh content. And remember, yes, it is possible to have sassy and sexy money. See you next week.